Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. My name is Chris. As always, I'm joined by Alberto and Jim. How's it going, Jim?
Good, sir. Surviving COVID-19 and the ongoing shenanigans that it brings to the world, and otherwise not too bad.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple weeks, that's for sure. Berto, what's new?
I was gifted a little baby pellet smoker a couple weeks back, so I've been playing with that thing, and it's a cool little piece of equipment. Kind of getting used to it. It's got its own little character and stuff that I got to figure out on its own. I was hoping it was going to be like literally set it and forget it. Yeah, it turns out nothing in my life is that easy. So I got a little bit of work to do. I know exactly what I got to do to fix this thing. I just gotta, I don't want to say fix it, to tweak it to do what I need it to do. But yeah, they're interesting little machines. That is for sure. Very interesting little machines.
I have no experience with pellet smoker. What are the pellets?
To the best of my understanding, it's pretty much sawdust that's been compressed down to make it looks like they make almost like a little pencil out of it and they just break it off in little pieces. But like, okay. If you can get one, you can break it in your hand real easy. And if they get wet, they just puff up. So it's just like quite literally a pellet, a little tiny pellet. Think of like what you would feed like a deer or something, but made out of compressed sawdust. Huh. And you can buy different flavors of this stuff. Like, by flavors, I mean different types of wood. Like, I've been messing with hickory and apple lately. And it's interesting because, it's got a little hopper on the side. So you dump it in the hopper and it's got an auger that kind of pushes it into a little burner. And it's like basically a little convection oven. And it's pretty much completely autonomous once you set it up. And it's just kind of like you just sit there staring at it like, now what? But there's no now what. That's it. It just runs.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
anything new with you, Christopher?
Well, it's been busy in my life. I won't dig too deep into personal things. Let's just say there's been financial things going on in a good way, luckily this time around. And so I just got done with a partial day off from work to take care of all of that, and then mowing the lawn, then kung fu class, and now we get to record. And I'm going to sleep well tonight. That's that, or at least I certainly should. That's for sure. So yeah, it's been good for me and business, busy as always. So yeah, that's me. So what's new with the group right now? We've been you just did the welcome Wednesday when just before we recorded this. Kind of where's our status on all of that?
Well, that's the I'm going to mute myself at some point or while we're talking with our guest here in a couple of minutes because I'm in the middle of typing up the announcement that we're getting ready to cross 3,400 members. So every 100 members that we get in the Keto Man's Club, I put out a request of before and after photos of guys in the group. Show me, where you started, where you are now, kind of thing. Try not to get too many repeats. So every 100, we've got 100 new men that can share their before and after photos, and then we make that the cover photo of the Facebook group. And you'll have anywhere this kind of, I don't even remember how far back this started, but we've been doing it quite a while. Mm-hmm. We used to have 6 or 8 different before and after photos. Now I'm like trying to squeeze them in at different angles and all kinds of stuff to get 20 different photos into that limited space on Facebook. So 3,400. We're just shy of 3,400 members. We'll be crossing that, or we will have crossed that by the time this episode airs. And then our brother group, I don't call it the sister group, we call it the brother group. The TKMC Beginners is closing in on 400 members, which is awesome for it being less than 4 months old. Yep. So groups are doing fantastic. Continued positive engagement. We've got, I still think though that you all are doing something in Texas, because literally every Wednesday that I do this Welcome Wednesday post in the group, usually around 8:30 before we record at 9. And every week, one of the first 2 or 3 guys that responds, I'm from San Antonio, I'm from Dallas, I'm from Austin, I'm from Houston. Like what what is it in Texas? I mean, can you put keto on the state flag or something? Might as well do it.
We've said it before. Keto is kind of easy in Texas whenever you have barbecue at every corner.
My gosh, crazy in a good way.
Yep,
in a good way.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, 75% of this phone call is from Texas right now.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Okay.
I'll just shut up here in Northern Indiana. It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
Well, let's start out with some shout outs real quick before we dive into our conversation with our guest. Jim, let's start with you.
Yes, sir. So the shout out that I have this week is to one of our newest members of the group's name's Ken Barger. And he wrote in the group that this is his first Transformation Tuesday photo. Let me start by saying that the people in this group are on another level of awesome. No dogma, no one way is better than yours. Just folks wanting to help each other. I really appreciate that. He began his journey on keto back in January 2018. He weighed 374 pounds when he went to the doctor that day in January 2 years ago. The scale at home only went to 350 pounds. So he didn't even have an accurate number at home. He did not realize what he weighed when he went to his doctor's office. He started a high-fat keto diet in January 2018. He lost 27 pounds over a few months, no exercise. So did okay with it, but not as big of a number as we sometimes see from our guys. In June of that year, so 6 months after, he switched to carnivore and added resistance training. He is now down to 240-ish pounds right now. And if you look at his before and after, it went from like big guy to a built guy. Shirtless pics, and now he's got the chest cleavage going on and everything. Total different face, no double chin at all. It's just a night and day difference for this guy. So kudos to Ken Barger, who, if I can quickly see, I'm trying to figure out where what do you know? Where do you know? I take it back. He lives in Maryland, but he's from San Antonio. Okay. So the Texas factor kicks in. Yes. So kudos to Ken Barger, one of the newest guys in the group.
Berto, who you got?
I'm going to go with an understated member of ours he stays relatively quiet, but I've had interactions with him on multiple platforms. And my buddy Weston Fonder. Mm-hmm. He's always kind of like a hard worker in the background. You never hear much from him. The guy keeps everything broken down to the simplest, as simple as you could break anything down. And he just, the guy just keeps on rocking. The guy doesn't know what he's going to do for dinner. He'll just go fishing and then come back and bam, he just caught dinner. And it was just quite the simpleton and just rocks it and doing great. Lost a ton of weight. I think he's been in maintenance for a while now, and he just kind of goes about his business. And every once in a while, you see him pop up. But yeah, he's doing it right.
Absolutely. I am going to shout out Chase Scott. He's in the main group, and he posted yesterday saying, first time posting Transformation Pick Tuesday. Today makes the 1 year mark from when I decided to change my life. The doctor, 324.19 for a checkup. I was 417 pounds, and my A1C was 6.5, borderline diabetic. My doctor told me to go on a low-carb diet, so I looked into it. I found that doing keto along with intermittent fasting works good for me. My A1C is now 5.1, and I'm down to 247 pounds. I still have a long way to go to get to where I want. I have to have surgery Friday to repair a hernia. After I recover, I will be hitting the gym hard, getting my goals. He has that look of I've lost a crap ton of weight still, but he's got that determination down, and he's looking good, and he's pushing through it, you can tell, and so looking forward to seeing more from him. Good job, Chase. Okay, well, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and dig into our guest. This is a returning guest. We've had a couple of those lately. This time, though, we're going to finally get to hear his story. Last time he was on, he kind of shared a slightly different story with us. Alberto, why don't you kick us off a little bit and get us up to date?
What can I say? This guy, we lovingly call each other, he's my ride or die. And the reason I say that is because every time I go work up in his neck of the woods, we always get together. And not the last time, the time before that, we attempted to get together. We managed about a half hour of hanging out, and then we both almost died from two different sicknesses.
Oh my God. I am not coming to Texas. Man. Screw that idea.
Well, mind you, saying dying from a sickness kind of takes on a different meaning these days. But
True.
that was when I was posted up in a hotel with some kind of stomach flu that almost took me out, and he had recovered from what I believe he lovingly called manbola. And he felt good for the day we hung out, and then shortly after I left, he kind of turned around and went right back down to the rabbit hole of sickness. So it was like, I'm like, you know what? We're literally each other's ride or die, because we suffered through it, hung out for a minute, and we're both like, yeah, we're both not feeling this right now, so we're gonna split. But yeah, welcome back, Tony.
Hey man, how y'all doing?
Doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Great.
All right, so
we are rocking and rolling, man.
So let's start off with the question everybody's going to want to know. How's mom?
Mom is rocking like a fat kid chasing a Twinkie in a canoe. She is unstoppable.
And we have our show title for this week.
You know, the beauty of it is she doesn't know what's going on, but she's happy and healthy. We track everything. So the minute her temperature fluctuates, we know, and she's just rock solid. That's why this is so important to us, was focusing on getting health front and center. Once you're healthy, everything falls into place. So
for those that haven't listened, just give them a quick rundown of what we're talking about. And obviously, they want to dive deeper. We've got 2 entire episodes where we go real deep. But for the new listeners, just give them the quick rundown about mom.
Yeah, we're first quarter of year 9 since my mom's diagnosis with Alzheimer's. And I shaved off 150 pounds and 9 medications at the front end of the disease, trying to get her physically healthy to fight her way through it. And we found all kinds of benefits from it. She's just healthy and happy. Crazy side note about this. The week before everything broke out, I decided, hey, I'm not going to, mom's biannual doctor's appointment is the same month as her birthday. And I'm like, hey, can we do this a month early? Totally random chance. I was like, you know, what if we do this a month early? Doctor's like, yeah, sure, bring her on in, no worries. And then we get home from the doctor, all of her numbers come back great. And then we get the notice like 2 or 3 days later from our kind of medical group that we all go to saying, hey, COVID-19, everybody stay home. And I'm like, well, that worked out real well.
Yep. And she's reasonably isolated anyway. It's just you guys. So you know, there's no worries about that, it sounds like. No. So that's great. And your wife is doing well as well?
Unstoppable also. As she was mentioning earlier before we went live with this, been working on the yard. And every time she mows the yard, it registers her as mountain biking. So disappointed. She's just mowing the yard every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so today we wanted to talk about your story, because you previously shared a little bit about your wife and a lot about your mom and her journey, and so today's all about you. So tell us, let's start at kind of where you were at the beginning of your health journey, and then we'll kind of dig into all of this, because it kind of flows along with what you found with your mom and everything else like that. But you have had your own successes and your own discoveries.
Yeah. Mine actually starts a little bit before that. 17, I enlisted, joined the Army, decided I wanted to blow up tanks. I thought that was cool. I just finished watching Desert Storm. I thought, ooh, I want to blow up tanks. I want to shoot missiles. That'll be cool. I got to my unit. Like when I got through basic training, I shaved off. I had to get a waiver. I had to get a waiver to get into the Army because I was too fat. When I got to my unit, I realized that I was about a foot taller than everybody else. I don't know what it was, but they're like, oh yeah, we're going to put you with everybody who's 5 feet tall. You're 6'2". You'll be a loader for the rest of your life. And granted, I would have looked like Hercules. I was like, I'm not going to do this forever. And I wiggled my way into just a regular leg platoon and spent 6 years as an infantry guy. Loved every minute of it. I got out of the Army in 98. And after that, like everybody who is no longer PTing and doing ruck marches and all the fun stuff, you know, the weight starts to creep up. And it took me 20 years from the day I ETS to top out at 312 pounds. That was kind of a wake-up call. I caught a side profile of myself in the mirror of the bar area of one of our favorite restaurants in Dallas. And I saw the side profile. I'm like, oh God, I turned into the fat guy. And I didn't want to do that. I don't want to end like my parents. So I had already learned everything working with my mom, getting everything kind of lined up for her. My wife was kind of in the same boat. She was teaching for Dallas ISD. And I remember the summer before we started to really start to take our health seriously. She was in the changing room at clothing store in where was she? She was at Eddie Bauer. So we were up in I think Allen, and like I could hear her crying because she was at the largest size that they had in the store. That was not acceptable to her, and she was just crushed. So we decided to start implementing everything we had done with mom and started calibrating everything for us and how we were starting to work out. And it just kind of everything fell into place. We already had a solid foundation. We knew it could work. Started doing that and loved it. We started cooking as far as keto is concerned in 2011, and this is 2016, 17 that we're starting to take our health seriously finally. And we started to watch the weight melt off. My wife had a medical misadventure, let's just put it that way, and finally gotten cleared from the doctor. And we started to work out, started to love it. And September of 17, I went down with pneumonia. You can only be a caregiver so long doing what we're doing the way we're doing it before caregiver fatigue catches up to you. And it absolutely caught up with me. And the minute I got out of the hospital, went right back to keto. And I started to slide more and more. I'd already started to lean this way, but I was fully invested at that point and went full carnivore pretty much and never really looked back. We lean a lot more on the high fat, high animal fat. Still, my other source of calories is meat, but we don't eat very lean meats. Not a lot of chicken though. That's starting to change. Ugh.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, so Mel and I my wife, Melissa, we had been kicking around this theory for a while. And it's like, what would happen if we just ate rotisserie chickens for like 30 days straight? And I started to crunch the numbers on it. I'm like, well, that's super cheap. There's not enough fat, so we're gonna have to eat some bacon because that's always worth the try. And right before everybody lost their mind and this started to get real crazy, we were doing 2 rotisserie chickens a day. It's a full chicken a piece. It's like less than $10 a day for the 2 of us to do that. I tell you what, though, after about 10 days of doing that, I was starting to really look over at mom's meal, and she's got like steak, and I'm like, why am I eating chicken? This is stupid. I want that. So, but we were working on it, and it was coming along. It wasn't terrible. Things have slowed down now. No more rotisserie chickens, and I tell you what, it's not such a thing. It's different though when you shift away from red meat, from ruminants, so beef, lamb, just good stuff like that. When you shift away, goat, cabrito, oh man, that's good stuff right there. When you shift away from that and you go to something like chicken, man, I eat the skin. I'm practically sucking the marrow out of the bones, and there's just not enough to satiate you. I went one day where I ate 2 whole chickens all by myself. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I need a plate of bacon because I'm still hungry. It's just weird. But, knocking down a 12-ounce bowl of chuck bites with 2 egg yolks, do that in the morning, and ground brisket for dinner with another 2 egg yolks in it and a little bit of bacon in between. I'm solid. That's it's not like I'm eating as much as Berto is right now. I mean, but even just the difference with chicken, speaking in terms of calories, you're consuming more with 2 rotisserie chickens in a day than you are 2 12 to 16 ounce bowls of beef. But it's just not as satiating, like not even close.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that because I mean, I've gone through like little phases of like higher, I call it high fat, higher protein because I really don't ever eat low fat. but like there was times where, you know, I would be at 250 plus grams of fat, and then my protein would be approaching 400 grams, and some of it would be chicken. But anytime my protein is higher than my fat, it's like I feel like I could eat forever. Like I do not get full. It is the strangest thing.
Yes.
But as soon as I start getting close to that 1-to-1, where like my ideal sweet spot is right around 250 grams of fat, 250 grams of protein. If I keep it right around 1-to-1, I have this really weird spot where, like, if I choose to keep eating, I can, but I'm also comfortable not eating. But once my protein starts creeping higher than my fat, it's like I just don't get full. It is the strangest thing. So it's interesting that you say that.
Yeah. I'm pretty much the same boat. And we look at it, it's like there's just not enough on that bird to consume to fill you up. I can shave off pounds with it though. Now that is something I've noticed. So packing up and moving everybody from Dallas to Wichita Falls, super stressful. I was planning on mom tanking, everything going sideways. The house we bought needs all sorts of love. So I was crushed by a lot of stress. And when we came out here, I probably put on 15 pounds, and then I started to shave it off, and I've been holding steady at 245 for about a year now, a little less than that, just because of everything else and just trying to figure out how to make this space work with everything in here and everybody in here. Stress is, we can do a lot with our macros, all kinds of crazy stuff with our macros and tweak everything. But when you get crushed by stress, wow, that shifts everything. And as everything gets better, I start to see that weight come off. Like this morning I got on a scale, which is not something I do a whole bunch, but I'm just at the tip of going into the 230s now. And I'm like, sweet, everything's back in motion again. It's amazing how something as innocuous as our hormones, we know they're important. We don't ever really think about them because we tend to focus on our macros so much, but they play such an important part in our weight loss. In Dallas, I kind of understood everything that was going on. It was my stomping grounds. My parents had been in that community since I was in elementary school. So we knew a bunch of people, and we came to a completely new town, had to find all new doctors for everybody. And yeah, stress is a killer. Literally, it can just crush all your gains. And I think we see a lot of guys who are stressing out in the group who probably, if they could step away from the stress for 15 minutes, they would get that same kind of weight loss that the other guys who aren't stressed out are getting. Just theory. I mean, everybody handles their stress different.
There's a lot to that. I'm definitely one of those. I've probably held out and hung out where I have for as long as I have for that very reason, because I am living in a high stress life, because I'm working a lot of hours and have a lot of balls in the air. And my wife and I were having a conversation about it the other day, and I honestly don't know how to simplify or de-stress off of that, because I have only plans to, increase workload and things like that. Now I have plans to keep that from all weight resting on my shoulders, but it's still quite a lot of work. And so it's definitely one of those things that, we all deal with stress in our own ways and figure what works best for us. And I have not figured out mine. Although I will say that doing things like Kung Fu have been a nice physical de-stressor, because it's physical activity and I get to move and release some of that energy. And I've started to get to the point where I've done a little exercise of my keeping everything fresh, my things that I'll need for my neck belt, things like that. I'll work on those a little bit each day. And so it's been a cool practicum to add to the mix of everything. So great. So one of the things that I enjoyed a lot about our previous conversation was the biohacking that you've done to help your mom. How about yourself? What have you found that works best for you?
So one of the things that we did right off the get-go was get our sleep squared away. Man, I cannot tell you how important sleep is. And for a lot of folks who are computer people or just consume a lot of media, it's hard. I mean, it is tough to break that habit. But who was it? Sean Stevenson wrote a great book, Sleep Smarter. And that was a big game changer, a deep rabbit hole that I went down Mel and I both wear glasses. So does my mom. All of our glasses in the house have a UVB filter that we order them with to during the day. So we're still getting some UVB light, but it's not enough to really mess up our cortisol levels. And this time of night, we normally do not watch TV for the last hour that we're awake before we go to bed. The really cool thing about that also is it lets us get stuff done around the house with a justification of, okay, the last hour we're going to do dishes and prep for tomorrow, and we'll sit down and go over budget or calendar or scheduling or whatever. And it's such a great way to kind of lower your cortisol levels, get your body into a mode of getting ready to go to bed. And the other thing we do is we keep the bedrooms very cold. That was another one that we came across. As you go to bed, if it's super cold, you will want to curl up underneath those blankets and not wake up. And short of a couple of fat cats waking us up every once in a while in the middle of the night, we'll sleep through until the alarms go off to change mom, and then we'll hit the sack again. And I mean, it's right back. The tracking on our Fitbits is amazing when you start looking at the tracking and see the quality of sleep when we stay on track and stay focused on it, and then when we get lazy, and you can see it. I mean, it's everything from heart rate to sleep quality to sleep time. It's amazing, and that's not it's not a finite, detailed report, but it's certainly better than guessing, and you can tell when you've had a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you doing what is it? HVR at all?
No, not. No, we have not.
Now, that's something that I've been curious about experimenting with, and I have the chest strap heartbeat monitor that I would, when I was still working out with Berto, I'd sit in my car and I put it on like on the way to the gym, and I would take my HVR for the day as I was going. And I never found consistent details with it to really track, but that readiness level for heart rate variability is what that stands for those that don't. And it's supposed to give you a measure of how ready your body is for stress. And sometimes based on those readings, you'll get a how, hey, take it easy in your workout today, or you'll go, hey, go hard. You've got a lot of energy burn. Do it. That type of thing. And I don't understand the science behind it, but I know that that's something that I've heard a lot about. I wasn't sure if you dug that.
We looked at it, and we actually looked at that for my mom. Mm-hmm. And then we were just trying to figure out, how do you incorporate this with mom? And we just couldn't at the time. And honestly, our workouts are not that intense. I probably have the easiest workout in the world. I don't like to run. I'm like Berto. I don't like to run. But I will get on a rowing machine, plug into a podcast, and I will go for hours if I'm not paying attention. And I finally got a rowing machine for the house. So I've got my own rower now. And then after NACA and seeing everything with NACA, I'd already been interested in before, but I started to use resistance band training stuff. Listening to Brandon Clark talk about that, that's kind of what got me over the hump. So I haven't been in the gym since our Y is being remodeled here. So I lost my dry sauna about 6 months ago. So I've been just doing resistance band training and now my rowing machine at the house. I mean, my workout routine is so easy, but I do it 2-3 times a day when I'm really having a stressful day, or I'll go 2 or 3 days without. So it's consistency. Back to the biohacks. Yeah. So UVB lights, sleep is huge. We try and moderate our social media consumption as well. That doesn't work out so well. Just doesn't. My wife's business is based in social media, so that doesn't work out real great, but we strive to kind of limit that. And then beyond that, it's little tweaks and little tunes here. Once you go carnivore, there isn't so much left for you to dig into. Like, back in the day, it was bulletproof coffee. That was the big one. And we caffeine cycle. I mean, I had my first cup of coffee at 17 at Fort Benning, and I didn't have my second cup of coffee until I was 40. So that'll tell you what the Army will do to you if you've never had coffee before. And that second cup of coffee, I literally had the Bulletproof Diet copy in one hand, and I'm in the kitchen trying to make it myself. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And, when we do have caffeine, it's to leverage the caffeine effect to get us, let's say we're driving to Dallas. It's going to be a busy day, and we're just not going to have time for a lot of stuff, largely because we'll be focused on mom. So we'll both do double shots of Bulletproof espresso in the morning before we leave the house with mom. And we will probably run until 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon before we need to eat because we're so satiated. And then we'll be back home that evening before it gets dark. You're talking 200 miles round trip, 4 hours in a car, everything that we need to do in Dallas, which is usually centered around mom. So it's a doctor's appointment. And we're still going at midnight after we come home, largely because we caffeine cycle. And that, I think, plays a big, important role. If you're a long-term coffee drinker, that wouldn't really work out unless you get past that kind of caffeine detox where you hate the world for a week or two and your kids don't want to talk to you and your wife is considering divorce. If you can get past that, caffeine cycling has really worked out for us. And our method back when Mel was teaching was we would follow the school schedule. If she was in classroom teaching on that day, we would have coffee. If she wasn't, no coffee. So there's no coffee during in-services. There's no coffee during spring break. There's no coffee during Christmas, Thanksgiving, or summer. And we never really built up a huge resistance to the caffeine effect.
You're lucky in that.
Well, and I'm a firm believer. If you don't believe in alchemy, spend 20 minutes watching a Starbucks. You'll see people try and turn coffee into everything under the sun.
Yep.
So
yeah, and bad coffee at that.
Yeah. We've got a great little coffee shop here in town, Odd Duck, and they're just freaking awesome. And they absolutely love the process. They love everything about coffee, and they make a great product.
But it's still coffee in the end.
Well, it's still coffee in the end.
Yeah.
But they can make a really good espresso.
Yeah.
Well, and they'll make us a bulletproof espresso too.
Sure.
So
very cool.
When we want to go,
when you say bulletproof espresso, what specifically do?
This is one that's a big one for any bulletproof coffee, and I see this in all the groups, and it just when everybody shifted from coconut oil to MCT oil. Oh my God, that's like pulling a Berto, but for the whole marathon. Like you don't just hop up off the couch and run a marathon when you're not healthy. You don't just go straight to MCT oil.
Nope.
People are like out there, oh yeah, like do a tablespoon of MCT oil in your coffee. No, don't do that. That ends. You'll need to wear the brown pants.
Yeah, do not leave the house if you do that.
Yes. Yeah. Like start with like a half a teaspoon of coconut oil, work your way up. And this is for an espresso. I would say probably do the same thing for a coffee as well if you're just starting out. And then like a tablespoon of butter. Just the old school traditional, Dave Asbury bulletproof coffee ideals. About as crazy as we get is we'll add a pinch of cinnamon to it, and that's about it. It's just, we use a little bit of MCT oil, maybe a teaspoon of MCT oil now, and a tablespoon of butter for one of our double shots.
Okay.
But it's a little extra fat that we get in there. MCT oil helps burn the fog off, but we've been doing it for a while now that we don't really suffer the digestive distress. And it works out great. And we'll occasionally sneak MCT oil into our regular diet as well. I actually prefer, I never thought I'd say this because I really don't like coconut, but when there's sometimes that I get a sweet tooth, super rare these days, but I'll do a steak and I'll, chuck bites. And when I mix the butter in there, I'll mix in a teaspoon of coconut oil and it makes it sweet. Almost a little too sweet for me now because the coconut kind of has that sweet taste to it. And, that's probably sacrilegious to say that. I'm sure there's somebody out there who hates pineapple on pizza and just added that to the list. Coconut oil and steak. Horrible human being. Check. But it scratches that itch and it kind of keeps me within my lane. And that's another big one is we learned early on that you just can't veer out of your lane. Like I'm a Cowboys fan. I freely admit it. And that means that I'm probably just going to be miserable all football season long. long, watching them lose for stupid reasons. And, you just kind of want to go and drown yourself in French fries and ranch and seasoned salt, like I did a couple of times when we were starting out. And the weight comes back just instantly. There's no dodging it.
Absolutely. So I'm under the assumption that did you go keto before you went carnivore? Or did you just go straight into carnivore?
So we started out paleo back in what felt like the dark ages of paleo. Back when you'd spend, $75 and 2 days in the kitchen to come up with like 4 ounces of mayonnaise. I mean, it was just ridiculous in the beginning, and after that we went keto. We still have all kinds of fabulous keto recipes. Mel has a great cauliflower mac and cheese with bacon on top type thing, and you can't tell there's no pasta in it. I mean, it's just out of this world. And when we're on a crazy whim, it's like, yeah, let's go do that, and that happens maybe twice a year. But after ketos, we were doing great. Since I'm the guinea pig in the house, I was following Charles Washington's Zeroing In on Health group, and I was watching them and thinking, yeah, I need to do this. And then Danny Vega started talking about it. I'm like, I'm done. Yeah, I'm in. And I jokingly told Danny Vega, I was like, I blame you for carnivore, because it's wonderful, and I feel great. I don't hurt. But yeah, we started off paleo, went keto, and then have gone carnivore. One of the things that I'm seeing that's kind of concerning, though, within all 3 of the kind of ancestral health kind of ways of eating, is that a lot of new people coming in are really, really, really starting to push or advocate or just absolute dogmatic about food purity. And we saw a lot of that in paleo, which is kind of why we started to leave paleo, because it was just not, it's just not doable for a lot of people. And the situation we were in, we just couldn't afford it. And that we're seeing that within carnivore in some places, where people are just like, oh no, it has to be, grass-fed, panda massaged, whatever meat. And like some people just can't do it, and they just give up. And I'm fortunate that's not kind of my mindset, but it's starting to creep into all of it now, unfortunately.
Yeah, the hardcores are the hardcores.
Well, that brings up something that I wanted to ask you about. When we talked to you the last time and talking about your mom, I remember asking you about how you were sharing her story and these discoveries that you have found in your mom's health and whatnot. So are you putting out what you've been doing personally now, to tick off these food Puritan kind of things? Or what are you finding with sharing your story, I guess, at the moment?
Social media is a cesspool.
Except for the Keto Man's Club. Let's give that little asterisk there.
And honestly, I think it's because y'all just don't let anybody through the front door, and I think that matters. But there are some groups now where the virtue signaling with food is ridiculous. And I started an Instagram account for exclusively what I'm doing with my mom, and a lot of things kind of happened around here that kind of slowed that progress down. End of last year, beginning of this year, unrelated to health and anything else. And it's been one of those things that I want to. We're working on stuff right now. My wife threw me under the bus. We belong to a business group here in Wichita Falls, and she threw me under the bus in front of that group. And now she's like, okay, we're going to hold you accountable for starting to write and put this together. So that's what I've been working on in the background, of doing that. We really want to start sharing it, largely because it's not just my mom that this applies to. It's also my wife. Melissa has a traumatic brain injury, so the odds of her developing early onset dementia are really, really not in her favor. So what we do with mom, we do with Mel, and we really have started to talk about putting this out there. It's 2020. Everybody's got a podcast, but it's something that needs to be done. My biggest fear is I don't think, because of the nature of how I am when I'm really not Oh, the polite way to say this. I could make a sailor blush. Cole Robinson is my spirit animal some days. I don't want to do that because I really want to reach as many people as possible. And some people just shut off, but that's really not who I am to not be that way. And it's like, this is super tough some days, trying to curb and check my mouth. But at the same time, there's another core group of people that I want to reach, like military, law enforcement, first responders, those guys who live full contact lives. Well, and the women who live full contact lives also doing the same jobs. Anybody who has had a traumatic brain injury. I mean, just look at the numbers on automobile accidents in the United States. The unreported concussions that are actually probably mild traumatic brain injuries. It's mind-boggling when you think about that. And those are the people I want to reach so that maybe we can get ahead of this before we need to start hoping and praying for some Hail Mary silver bullet miracle cure that I don't honestly believe will ever exist. So we want to get the message out there. We are working on it right now. In fact, Mel and I are probably going to start working on this seriously. She's actually looking at maybe starting to scale back her business so we can start working on getting this information out together because it needs to be out there. And she absolutely helped balance me because if I had my druthers, I would burn down the American Alzheimer's Association. They're not helpful. The American Diabetes Association is finally starting to acknowledge that a low carbohydrate diet can help engage type 2 diabetes, but that they had to have somebody who was the president of the organization with type 1 diabetes who did it. And that's just kind of ridiculous. So I have strong opinions about those organizations, and Mel keeps me grounded. So if we do anything of this nature, she's got to be a part of it. If anything, just to, keep the choke collar on me so I don't go full Army knife hand cursing. Oh, it'd just be horrible. It'd just be an hour-long rant.
You've got a strong will, and you've got a message that you want to get out. And I mean, I've hung out with you. You're a passionate man. There's no shame in that. And I think you've got the perfect partner to make sure that passion stays pretty well reined in and listenable, and you don't just kind of go off the handle and turn everyone off in one big shot.
Oh yeah. She'll call me on my BS. She does regularly.
So once hopefully all this blows over and life tends to get kind of back to normal, what are your plans from there? I mean, physically, you plan on getting back into the gym? You gonna stick with your rowing routine, or you gonna try to change things up at all?
Actually, I was starting to get out and ruck again. I've got my grubby backpack, and we had some extra bricks that were buried in our backyard. Don't even get me started. But I have I've got 3 bricks that I've duct taped together, and they're in my backpack, and I get out and go do laps around my neighborhood.
Corey would be proud of you.
Yeah. When I was starting before I got pneumonia, I was starting to get on a treadmill and go again, and I had every intention in the world of doing an EIB ruck march. Expert infantry badge in the Army is what it stands for, and it's a 12-mile ruck march in 3 hours. And I had every intention of doing that, and then the pneumonia just crushed me. And then after that, we sold the house, and it's like, okay, I've got this stuff settling down here. I'm going to start getting back into shape, and at some point, I'm going to do an EIB. I'm going to do a ruck march again. I used to do it when I was younger. I know I can do it. I can't wait to do it again. I won't do it in my Danners, but I'll probably do it in tennis shoes now because I get that luxury. By the way, when you called in during that half marathon, dude, that I have been there. I have been there. Anybody who's ever been in the military has been there, man. Anybody who's ever done anything like that knows exactly how you feel.
Took you right back.
Oh man, I can't tell you. Oh,
yeah. Did you have bad flashbacks? Let's just be honest, Tony.
We had this company commander that loved to run. This dude was a runner. It was amazing to watch him run, but I'm not built like a runner. Like, we went and saw 300. Mel looks over at me. I'm half Greek, half Mexican. She pokes me in the tummy and she goes, "Where's my Spartan?" And I'm like, oh, I'm a winner model. I'm just made to lift heavy objects and carry them long distances. I don't run. So that was rough, man. But I had this company commander that would just go, and I swear he never ever found a route. I don't know how you could run for that long and not have any downhills. Everything was uphill, always uphill. There was no downhill. But oh yeah, that was not fun.
Oh, well, I want to, I don't know if this is a good shift of gears or not or anything, but, you talked about how going carnivore helped and, the glasses and the sleep and all those other things and whatnot. You've definitely had a handful of challenges over the years. Do you find a tie in what you eat and your intake and everything to having a positive outlook on life?
So
without running uphill nonstop kind of thing. Let's pull that out of the equation on a normal day, so to speak, Tony.
So I am this child of two principals, school principals, which means nobody likes me. And then I'm a real a-hole most of the time also. So, the meme that was going around about latchkey kids being the real survivors during COVID because we're used to being alone and left alone and playing alone. That's kind of always been me. I've always entertained myself. I just, nothing really gets me down a lot. I can't think of a time in my life when I was down about really anything. Now, being that I am the guy who has to pay attention to everything in my house, my wife is on the other end of that spectrum. And her going carnivore has been world altering for her. And a lot of it, we were already doing great on keto. She really, really loved it. I went down to KetoCon in 2018 and I watched that opening talk by Carrie Brown. And I was texting Mel during that opening talk the whole time, telling her the minute this is live, you need to watch this. And she struggled with depression and thoughts of suicide in her life. And we have specifically tested to see what would happen with us when we go off the reservation. And for me, this is kind of the frightening part. I could go off the reservation, I would get fat again, but cognitively, I would feel fine. I'd start to have a few aches and pains. Mel can't go off the reservation at all. She has to stay within the parameters of keto and carnivore, because the minute she goes off the reservation, those thoughts come back, those feelings come back, and it's not something that we take lightly. So watching somebody as close as my wife is to me, watching her change, I can tell you I see it. Absolutely. I see it when she goes off the reservation. And she can manage for a day or two, but beyond that, no. Like it's not something that is ever going to change back to that for us. Because it's a dark place for her. It's supposed to be about me, and I really don't talk about myself a lot.
No, you don't. Now
I wasn't sure if you were going to go down that road or not. That's why I kind of paused. And
yeah, sorry guys.
You're a giver. What can you say?
Well, it's admirable that the sacrifice that you put into place. You basically have put your wife and your mom as first priority, and I don't think there's anything wrong with. But along the way, you've had your own, and you've hit on your own things, and we've asked some questions, and I think we're getting to where we are hitting most of the things. Now, are there any other things that you've seen recently? We talked about the plans for the future and getting back into rucking. Are there any other biohacks that you're wanting to try or anything like that?
I am stoked for red light therapy. I've got our master bedroom has the world's smallest shower in it. Boats have bigger showers than this. And I'm like, we're not using it. I don't fit in it. Nobody fits in it. The cats barely fit in it. I'm going to make that into a red room, essentially. Well, let me back that up. Not a red light therapy.
We're going into the Keto Man Club after dark again.
Red light therapy.
So, Tony, tell us more.
Yes, I will be freeing the keto nipple in there.
As long as it's just the nipple, brother. That's all we want.
Well, if you listen to Dr. Saladino, he does get into
We're
the
cutting
use
the
of the
interview off right now. No more.
Actually, there's theory out there that it will boost testosterone.
Yes.
So that's I'm fascinated by that, and chronic pain. It gets back to my wife again with the chronic pain, but I like the aspects of it. I love dry saunas for therapy. I would love at some point, and our long-term goal, we have a sunroom that's now where my shop space is and kind of my workout space. But at some point, I'd like to put in a near infrared dry sauna in there. I think that would be great. And they're starting to build those with red light therapy in them as well. I think that would be phenomenal. Just the things that I've seen. Who is it? Dr. Rhonda Patrick talks about it. She's a doctor. Either way, Rhonda Patrick talks about how red light therapy and dry sauna therapy is great for mental health and long-term avoidance of things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And again, all of that is contingent upon a healthy diet, staying physically active. I'm the first line of defense is diet and nutrition. Second line of defense is physical activity. You can eat wonderfully and still wind up with just lost it. There's so many different forms of dementia. Basically hardening of the arteries is what it is, and arterial dementia, and a lot of that has to do with lack of physical activity. You see that in a lot of these little skinny ladies who are eat like a bird. They never really ate unhealthy, but they were never physically active, and then you see they hit 80, 90 years old, and they're just, the dementia is crushing them. So those are the kind of things that we aim for. I think the longer I do this and eat like this, the less I'm inclined to go for the kind of overboard stuff. I'm just waiting for somebody to convince the food purist to go down the dodgeball route with Patches O'Houlihan. I drink my urine because it's sterile and I like the way it tastes. I mean, I can see these people doing it at some point, and I'm not that extreme. I've hit my happy spot. I want to start working on chasing the Berto dream, and I want to find my abs again.
Awesome. No, we talked about it. Eventually, when next time I go up there to go to your gym and get a good killer workout in, we're definitely gonna have to still keep that going. Hopefully, at some point.
Right now it's just in the backyard. There's mowing and more mowing and weed hacking. That's about it. Watching this community grow, not just the men's club, but the ancestral health community grow, has been so cool. I mean, it really has been awesome. The kind of thing that concerns me now, though, is there's so much static out there where my wife and I have friends who are metabolically ill, I guess is the politest way of saying it. And they flat out are just, I'm never going to do it. It's dangerous. We're all going to die. And I just want to plead with them. You got to. And at some point, I think there has to be a breaking point where people start to hopefully want to take care of themselves better. Going into COVID-19, the insanity of buying at the grocery stores, I was glad that we kind of buffer ourselves because of Mom in the house with food and necessary supplies that are predominantly for her. Because when we went through the grocery store, man, it was crushing me to see people in the grocery store with just mountains, 4, 5, 6 giant family-sized boxes of cereal that are just nothing but sugar. Cases upon cases of soft drinks. We got back to the section. Somebody posted somewhere, I want to say it was in one of the carnivore groups, that their grocery store had Kerrygold butter for 52 cents a bar, like the half-pound bricks. And I was like, why is that? And somewhere in the thread, somebody was like, yeah, all the good stuff, in quotes, all of the good stuff was gone, so got to get rid of the bad stuff too. And like, just got to get past that mindset. Our grocery store, all the margarine, all the country crock garbage, gone. Blocks and blocks of real butter still left. I've got 8 pounds of butter in my fridge, in my freezer. And I mean, like, all of the real food was left. All of the fake stuff was gone.
Yeah, we were just talking to Gormy not too long ago, and I had just mentioned it too. Like I had gone grocery shopping, it's one of those things. Like I got plenty of food here, so we're pretty much just going for our usual stuff. Like
Yep.
And just like before, if I find a hunk of protein on sale, I'm gonna buy it. Not that I need it because it's cheap enough and it's available, but yeah, like I literally everything that was on my list I got. There was plenty of it. My list was like cream cheese, cheese sticks, like pork tenderloin, chicken wings, and I think our wife had a couple things on there, like our son's drinking whole milk now, so whole milk for him, and maybe I think with a little ground beef. But the aisles were wiped clean, but the few things I needed, and I'm like, there's still 15-pound briskets in here, like a lot of them. Like we're gonna be just fine.
Oh, our meat counter right across from the meat counter is where they have all the briskets out, and like that thing was like mounded full of briskets. Nobody wanted to touch them. Like I just
and it's just that mindset. Like it dawned on me at that point how many people, like talking about the general population, like really can't, like, can they really not cook for themselves, or is it because that particular cut of meat takes a little more time and effort? Mm-hmm. But I was like, in my head I was leaning towards like, do this many people just really not know how to cook? Because like I'm having no trouble here.
Yeah. Well, and we do chuck, like we buy a whole chuck roll and just carve it up into sections of 10, 12 ounces, and chop it thin and do chuck bites, and it tastes phenomenal. Nobody wants to touch it. Nobody wants it at all. It's incredible. But that's 40 years, almost 50 years of indoctrination into believing that you got to have 60% of your calories coming from carbohydrates, healthy whole grain. And I don't know if it was the Man's Club or if it was another group that I saw it in, but somebody had a post. If the health food aisle is the healthy food, what's the rest of the grocery store aisle?
That's a very good point.
Like, it's crazy. And somewhere somebody's got to, I think there was a general sadness seeing the potential for KetoCon being canceled this year. Like seeing the thread where they were talking about that, and people just like, this is a bummer, but whatever happens, we'll be there for the next one. That in and of itself is so inspiring, that there's that many people who are concerned and care, and it gets bigger every year. That's the other part that I love. It gets bigger every year.
Yep, absolutely.
I had not heard that about the health food aisle, but I would take that with a grain of salt, no pun intended, in adding in also, is everything in the health food aisle healthy?
Oh, absolutely. I am right there with you. A lot of that is garbage too.
Vast majority of it, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. How many times have we seen guys, even in our own Keto Man's Club group, posting up about this bread that says 0 carbs? And then just because the marketing guy says it's 0 carbs, do a little research and no.
Yeah, so like, I'm just thinking about right now the health food aisle, because I go down the health food aisle every time, and I buy something in the health food aisle every time. And you know what I buy from the health food aisle? Bulk spices and fresh ground almond butter. Yep. That is about the only thing that is of any use to me in that aisle.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. My one treat, I have one treat that I really treat myself to, and it's Ancient Nutrition's chocolate bone broth. And I have, that's about my only treat. I add a little bit of heavy whipping cream to it. It's, boiling water, and then you add a little heavy whipping cream. And in the dead of winter, that's like a hot chocolate. And that's perfect. And I drink it for about, one container lasts me about 6 or 7 months. That's how rare I really use it. And Mel and I share it. So I think there's 30 servings in their total. So it takes me 6-7 months to get through it. I don't do it a whole bunch, but it's a rare treat. That's about the only reason I go down our health food aisle in my grocery store. There's a couple of good finds, but by and large, a lot of it's garbage also.
The Ancient Nutrition has several different products that are all really actually keto friendly and good options. I have their protein it's a bone broth protein mix, and I've not had it hot ever before. I've used it in shakes, but I bet it would be hot too, like a hot chocolate, like you're saying. So that'd be.
And something else, those keto breads and stuff like that. Man, the whole used car negotiations we do with our health when it comes to total carbs and net carbs. Man, if you're new to keto, learn how to manage total carbs first. Once you get that down, you can start negotiating a year or two once you've hit your happy space and you've got this down. But a lot of folks come in and they instantly want to start negotiating for what they can and can't eat with net carbs. And I think we see a lot of folks who are really not doing themselves any service. Some folks who are a little younger, probably not as metabolically broken, can still kind of fudge the numbers a little bit with the net carb, whole carbs negotiation back and forth. But once you hit kind of a tipping point where you've been a fat guy for 10, 15 years, you probably shouldn't be doing that to start off with. And that's one of the things I didn't figure out net carbs until 3-4 years into keto. I mean, that was just not something that I started from the source. I went to Finney and Volek's The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living, and I just from there I didn't come away with the notion of, oh, I should negotiate my carbs, and if I do this, this, and this, I can add this and subtract that. Magically, the 50 carbs I ate today will equal 20. We did it the hard way, and it sucks. Man, does it suck on the front end. But once you get it down, as you get further into it, okay, it's my birthday. I can play with this, experimental keto cake or cheesecake, and it's got a few more carbs in it than I would normally eat, but okay, I can balance and I understand what I'm doing, and it doesn't hurt me in the long run because I eat it once a year. I'm not going overboard. I'm not using it to justify everything. And that I think is something else that we kind of lose sight of the forest because all the trees are in the way sometimes. Sometimes you just got to make a decision and go with your gut. And I don't think negotiating for my health is a good long-term solution in a lot of cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see. Do you have any new resources you like to read and dig into a lot of the research? What's kind of your most recent find?
Let me pull up my Audible list here. The all-important Audible. I have been digging through the metabolic approach to cancer. Again, I've read it once before, and the second time has been much better. The other one that I'm revisiting again also, and that's something else that I do regularly, is I'll go back and revisit one of the older books I've read, and I pick out more than what I did the first time. The Paleocardiologist is another one that I've really enjoyed a second time. A lot of what I've been focusing on has been dementia stuff. Dementia Reimagined is one that I just read. There's just a bunch of them. Dr. Newport has a new version of her book on Alzheimer's. What if there's a solution? Max Lugavere, Genius Foods. I just revisited that book again. That was a great one. What else is there? Yeah, a bunch of what I've been focusing on is learning how to learn better, which I think there's some of that we need to take away with this also. That we need to learn how to differentiate. A great book, Factfulness. We need to learn how to differentiate kind of back in the day, it would have been called a bullshit meter, and kind of sift through all the garbage, because there's so much static out there with what we hear and we see a lot of. We have our differences, opinions, calories in, calories out, fat, protein, macros, things of that nature. That's a little bit of the dogmatic stuff, but some of the other stuff, like the magic bullets, what is that? Cranberry ketones or something like that, raspberry ketones, like the magic pills. Like if we need to learn how to learn a little better, some of us, so we don't get sucked into that. And trying to put Mel's brain back together. That's what I've been focusing on, is trying to learn how to teach that to my wife and help her with that, because her meter isn't as good as it used to be. But yeah, some of the older books, there's still good wisdom in it, just because, I think The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living is 15, 20 years old now.
Yeah.
If that young. It is still the best resource to go to. Almost forgot about this one. Estrogeneration by Dr. Anthony J. That is
that one's a
great
very good
book.
one. Yes, it is.
And as dudes, we definitely need to be paying attention to that.
Yes, we do.
As much as I love my sous vide, we are no longer sous videing in vacuum seal bags. We use a silicone bag, and I'm still not 100% sure that's perfect, but it's a little bit better than the BPA bags and BPS, I think is what it is, bags that they switched to. So
yeah, that was one of the things that I picked up from that one. I have read that one. He said, "Oh, yeah, it's BPA free, but what about BPB?" And
yes, and the other variation. Yep,
and all of
yep.
So they just changed the formulation ever so slightly, making it so that you can, change it, so that they can still keep doing what they're doing and
work the loophole, man.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
And I'll even say from my technical background is painting cars, and painting cars, it's not unusual for when you put a new bumper on a car, the bumper's called raw plastic, meaning there's no primer on it. It's just a raw rubber bumper. And I mean, we're talking about since the mid 90s, like when you get a raw plastic bumper, you've got to either put it in the sun for a day or throw it in the bake cycle to cook it in order for it to sweat out all the mold release and all the chemicals in order for the paint to stick. So like when I first heard of this thing, I'm like, look, I'm no expert on food, but I know quite a bit about heating up plastic to get contaminants out of bumpers. And I'm like, because there a long time ago, there was this weird trend going around where like you fill a cooler with boiling water, you throw a bunch of corn in there, full ears of corn, and then like you take it to a picnic or a party, and then you have a cooler full of cooked corn a few hours later. And my sister's like, hey, we should do this. I'm like, about really hot water and plastic, we probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that always like about that machine kind of I don't have one, but it always kind of stuck in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, it's definitely a colder temperature, but I would imagine the same laws still apply.
Yeah. And this is something I came across today, book-wise, sort of. Amy Berger, she just posted today on YouTube, I want to say, about her new book, The Stall Slayer. And I cannot wait to get a hold of a copy of that, to dig into that one.
She's good people as well.
Yes, she is. She's awesome.
I've seen her at KetoCon a year or two, and just seen her all around, and she's definitely one of the good ones.
Yes.
Okay. So we've covered a lot. We're almost at 90 minutes at the point. So any other things that you've kind of been itching to talk about that we might have missed? Now's the time.
Not much. I mean, it's we're in the middle of hopefully the middle, maybe even if we're lucky, super close to the end at some point here of COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it. And fact of the matter is, for a lot of folks, this is kind of stressful. Working, not knowing what's going to happen, stuck at home. As somebody who works at home with mom, my wife works at home. You still got to take a shower. That's the big one. and you got to change your underwear.
Yep.
Especially if you want to stay married, guys. Yeah. But beyond that, no, man, I think we're good. I love how our community's growing. I love how keto and really the ancestral primal eating is coming back. We're finding our ways, and I wish I had super simple answers to tell people how to do it easier and better. I think in systems and processes, if you could streamline it and you could figure out what macros work for you, streamline it. Don't be afraid to streamline it and do the hard things on the front end, because the back end is so much easier.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Agreed. Well, Tony, let's go through all the different ways that people connect with you. You're in the Facebook groups. How else can people connect you?
Low Carb WF on Instagram, because we're in Wichita Falls, in Texas. And
I was waiting for a T in there, but I was just double checking myself. So
no. If you go check it out, our logo is the state of Texas, the northern part of the state of Texas. So it's always there. And then also the KDC Life on Instagram. It's the Knuckle Dragging Caregiver, and I'm going to start working in that more often. Once Mel and I have settled on an approach that we want to use with that, we're going to start hitting that real hard and sharing it out and joining following a bunch of people on Instagram that are not just within our keto community, but need to hear this message also long term. We see that within the veteran community. Those guys who have been broken by years and years of physical abuse on their body, man, it's a life changer. So, that's the two best places to catch us on Instagram.
Very, very cool.
And then maybe someday a podcast, probably, if I could just figure out how not to make it always explicit.
Well, you could just put the explicit tag there and make it, all good.
Yeah, it's gonna have to. I'm surprised Mel's not sitting outside the door with one of those little bar clickers to see how many times I fight to drop the F-bomb.
Yeah, luckily, I think I've only caught one thing that, honestly, I'm just going to leave. So it's fine. So, yeah, we're good on that. Let's go around the horn real quickly on the other social accounts. Jim?
Again, Keto Man's Club on Facebook and on Instagram at Jim Inman Jr.
And Berto.
The group, as always, and L.KetoCholo on Instagram.
Very cool. I am Duckman Keto on Instagram, as well as always in the group. It's on a tab or on a notification somewhere, always for me. So just reach out, tag. I'll have to respond, as will any of these guys. You can reach the podcast on Instagram by reaching out to @Keto Man's Club Podcast. You can email us at ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 512-518-6161. All great ways to connect with us. There are links to all of our places. The Facebook page, which we would love you to like and leave a comment on. The Facebook groups are both linked there, as well as some links to how you can easily subscribe to the podcast, all at theketomansclub.com. So that's the website to check out. Definitely do that, because it's a great hub that you connect us through. At this point, we have taken up enough of everybody's time, even though it's been really great to catch up with Toney and get to hear more about his story. So thank you so much for that. And that's it for this week. Until next week, make sure to eat meat, lift heavy, sleep. Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.